This is our Tic Tac Toe project for Engineering 141, Section 41. My group consisted of Alice Stevens, Jenny Zhang, and myself, Rick Ferrer. The purpose of this project was to create a robot that plays tic-tac-toe with the following specifications. The robot must always make the best move. The robot must scan the board for moves. The robot must position the ball on the board. The robot must detect the player's move. And MATLAB should display each updated board. Now let's look at our AI choices. Our first choice is Alpha Dragon 3.3, which came from my previous group. The second choice we had is the game tree, which came from Alice's previous group. Alpha Dragon uses a system of for loops to block potential enemy wins and to move in a spot that will give it the soonest win. Meanwhile, game tree analyzes each individual case through a series of if statements. Both Alpha Dragon 3.3 and game tree had minor errors which have been fixed since then. However, game tree AI was easier to implement since Alpha Dragon called on many functions. It wasn't compatible with the user interface that we implemented. So therefore, we chose game tree. We will now go over some of the computer's strategies. The gray connotates the computer's move, the red connotates the player's move. If the computer is prompted to go first, it will always choose the top left. If the player moves to the center, the computer will move to the bottom right. If the player chooses either corner, the computer will choose the opposite corner. This will give the computer 2 opportunities to get 3 in a row, which means that the player will not be able to block both of them, and the computer will win. If the player tries the same trick, the computer avoids it by moving to the top middle square, forcing the player to block the potential 3 in a row. If the player goes second and chooses the top middle, the computer will choose the bottom left. This forces the player to block the potential 3 in a row. The computer then moves to the bottom right, giving itself 2 opportunities to get 3 in a row, and thus winning. Positioning the ball. The robot first rotates the board 0, 45, 90, 135, or 180 degrees. The robot then moves the board forward in one of 3 positions. The first position corresponds to a corner, the second position corresponds to a side, and the third position corresponds to the center. The robot then pokes the ball out, and we will see in this picture an example of it poking the ball out while rotating the board to a corner. Scanning the board. It uses the same steps as ball positioning, except the forward positions are not as far. The robot only scans previously empty spaces. The robot stops scanning once it detects the other player's move. The robot does not scan the board when it plays against itself. And here you see it scanning at one of the corners, and compared to the previous picture, it's not as forward as before. We have 2 videos for you. The first one is the player versus a computer. Enjoy.
Okay, your turn. Can you do hats? Yeah, that's not gonna work. Can you do hats? I don't know. I'm about to find out. Okay, 6 times the charm, guys.
Alright, for real. We gotta get this stupid.
Oh, crap. Oh, it didn't work anyway.
Okay. It doesn't. Man, that's a
I'll just leave it at 3 because it's in the way.
Don't worry, we've got batteries running.
I hope you've enjoyed that. Now we will show you the computer playing against itself.
Done a lot of videos. Just like
We did use some sources in our project. A huge one was the Clemson website where the lab manual and installation instructions are located. We would also like to thank the Utahs, because without their help we wouldn't be able to set up our program and to get the machine working properly. Uh-oh. What is this? Just kidding. Oh, our PowerPoint has crashed. Not really. This actually happened to my computer when I tried to run the first NXT command in MATLAB. Fortunately for me, my other group members had their computers working, and so we were still able to work on this project. Aside from that, I'd like to thank everyone who helped us out again, and I hope you guys have a great summer. Goodbye.